Hello and welcome to another guitar tutorial video where we'll be looking at bar chords, which is a way of playing chords anywhere along the neck where you don't have to be playing them in the open position, and it can really improve your playing, and getting the hang of the bar chords down is very important for your future guitar playing. It is an incredibly important aspect of a guitar, and you might notice that after the caged video we were missing sort of two chords. If you look at a piano keyboard, we're missing two chords, and those were the F and the B major chords. And there's a good reason for that, and that is that they cannot be played in that cage system where you use open strings, right? When you hold down any of those chords in the cage system, you always play some open strings, whether that be in G major or in E major. You're always playing several open strings. And it's it's not, maybe not very, but a lot easier to play chords down in this position when you're just starting off. The way to play an F major chord is kind of very different. So we'll be looking at that straight away. And this is the F major chord. And as you see, I'm holding down all of the strings. There isn't a single open string playing, and this is why they're pretty difficult for beginners to handle, because it's pressing down this index finger down on all the strings and making sure that they sound. That's what tends to be difficult at first. It's getting the pressure down on all the strings. And so, to play this F major chord, first I want you to grab hold of an E major chord, but in a slightly different way. Instead of using these fingers, like previously described, you want to press down the third string first fret using your middle finger. Then using your pinky, you're pressing down on the fourth string, second fret. So you play that with your pinky. And then on the fifth string, second fret, you use your ring finger. So you have this E major chord, except instead of holding it down like this, you're holding it down like this. And that's important because you need this index finger to hold down the bar, as it's called, which is all the strings, right? Holding down like a bar. And what you will do with this E major chord now is, when you're holding it down like this, just shift it up by one fret. So these two fingers, just shift them up by one fret. Everything goes up by one fret, as so. Alright? So you just hold it down. Instead of the first and second fret, you're holding it down on the second and third fret. Because if you look at a piano keyboard, the E and the F are just a semitone apart, right? There's no black key in between them, so you just have to move up one. That's what we're doing right here, is moving up that one semitone. So if you hold it down here on the second and third fret, you might notice that when you play, you don't get that major chord. You get a different, pretty nice sounding chord as well, but you're not getting that major sound that we want from a chord. And the way to solve this is by putting down your index finger on the first fret and holding down on all the strings. So that way you have that major sound, right? And since you're holding down three strings over here, the first finger only has to apply pressure or hold down the first two strings and the lowest E string. So that might take a while to learn and practice, especially here, because this is where you have to apply the most pressure to hold down the strings. If you move this up somewhere higher down up the neck, you might notice it's a lot easier to hold down the strings than it is over here, because the strings are very close to the nut here. So you have to apply a lot of pressure to really push them down. So, but once you get this chord down, the F major chord, you will be able to, without a problem, hold down any other chord along the neck. So this one's really the most important to get a hold of. And what I really want you to notice here is that what you're effectively doing is kind of moving the nut a fret higher, right? Because when you're playing the E major chord, these open strings are essentially vibrating in this on this fret here, right? So you're kind of holding down a bar chord, right? Except you don't have to because you have the nut here. So you're essentially you don't have to press down here in the open position because you have the nut here. But when you're moving up, you're just kind of moving that shape across the guitar. Right? So that's how you play the F major chord. And with this position, you can play chords anywhere along the neck. So right? And the chord, the name of the chord, or sort of what it is, depends on the root note, which in this case you have always here. Right? So when you're playing the E major chord, it's an E major chord, and the root note, one of the places you're playing the root note is here, in the low E string. So you have an E major chord. E minor chord, same, you have the root here, and the open string. Right, and so the other chord that you notice, that you might have noticed was missing, was the B major chord. And once again, we're going to be playing that in a bar position, but this time not on the E string. As I was saying previously, the E string was playing the root note, right? Where you could have an E major, F major, because this note is an F, one semitone higher than an E, an F sharp major chord, because this note is an F sharp, once again a semitone higher than an F, G major, G sharp major, A major, A sharp major, B, C major, C sharp major, and so on. Now we're going to be playing the root note on the A string. So this note right here, the 5th string on the 2nd fret, is a B note. So we have our root, right? The B for a B chord, and then the way to play the B major chord is by holding down the rest of the strings here on the 4th fret, and then holding down with your other finger on the 2nd fret the 5th string, right? So you're going to be using your index finger to hold down the B root note on the 2nd fret, and your ring finger to hold down the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th string on the 4th fret. And you don't want to really be playing that high E string. You want to only be playing the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings along with the 5th string. Right? And that is the B major chord. Now, following along with the same explanation as with this E major chord position, we are playing, since these are based on the A note, these are effectively played in the A major position, right? So if you play an A major and just hold it down, instead of using 3 fingers, hold it down with 1 finger, that's the ring finger, and play an A major, you'll notice that once again the nut is acting as the bar, right, in your bar chord. So then if you move up 1 fret to this note, which is a B flat, and play that, that's a B flat major chord. And same here, B major, C major, C sharp, D, and so on and so on. And so these are your 2 bar chord positions. One that's based off of the E major chord, this position, right? that's based off of the E major, and one that's based off the A major chord, which is this position. And so there you have two ways of playing chords anywhere along the neck. And you don't have to be in open position. And in many ways, it's once you get the hang of pressing down on the strings with your first finger, it almost becomes a lot easier to play chords and familiarize yourself with songs. In the same way, we can play minor chords with bar positions, right? So I'll show you how to play the F minor chord. And when you want to play the F minor chord, just grab hold of the F major chord and let go with your middle finger of the third string. So you don't want to be playing that. And there you have F minor, which, as you may notice, is just an E minor chord shifted up one fret. And in that very same way as playing major chords anywhere along the neck, you can play minor chords anywhere along the neck with the low E string playing the root of the chord. So here this note is a G, so we have a G minor chord. Or we can add that second finger and play a G major chord, which you will see is the same sounding as playing it in open position, right? That's G major, that's G major as well. So that's how you can play minor bar chords. And then if you take the bar chord position based on the A string and just play, that's how you play A major, but you want to play A minor, except with your middle finger holding down the second string on the first fret, your pinky holding down the third string on the second fret, and your ring finger holding down the fourth string on the second fret. That's the way you want to play the A minor chord. And then just move up and hold down the root note with your first finger. And that's the way you can play minor chords in this position. Right? So as you can see, the bar chord positions are all based off of either the E major chord, the E minor chord, right? So this is an example of a G major chord based off the E major open position, right? And so this is an example of a G minor bar chord based off of E minor in open position. Same goes for the bar chords on the A string. This is an example of a C major chord based off of the A major chord in open position. And this is an example of a C minor chord based off of A minor in the open position. Right? And there are other bar chords or chord position or chord shapes that you can play along the fretboard by just moving up. But I'm not going to go into these, but this is an example. Right, that's your D major chord. If I then move up, we have D sharp major, but you can play around with different open positions and just move them up by one fret. If you remember that the nut is acting as like the bar or the root note of the chord. So that's how you can play bar chords, and now you can play all the chords, all the major and minor chords on a guitar just by using those four positions, which are very simple to remember once you realize that they're really based off of E major and E minor and A major and A minor. So there you go. Bar chords, very, very important and very useful for guitar. So I cannot stress how important it is for you to get a hang of playing them and applying the right pressure with your first finger, which is really going to be the hardest part of learning these chords. But once you do manage to get them, they can really expand your guitar playing. Thank you for watching.